Money FM 89.3, the best of Saturday mornings. International News Review.
We are here with the International News Review. Steve Okun, CEO of APAC Advisors, joining us as he always does. Steve, let's start with Trump and Modi, the leaders of both India and the U.S., calling India's tariffs unfair and limiting access to U.S. goods. And India and the U.S. are set for trade talks to finally or hopefully do something about that. Where do we stand on tariffs and trade between India and the U.S.?
Well, of course, we have to say it was the Trump, Modi, and Musk meetings. And we'll get to Elon later because this is going to play a significant role in this. I'm kind of surprised at all of the optimism that is coming out of the Trump and Modi meetings. Oh, we're going to have this great deal between the U.S. and India, and you have howdy Modi and namaste Trump and this big bromance and bear hugs between the two. Look, these are really tough economic relations from a U.S. perspective on India, especially from an America First lens. I mean, India has a massive trade balance in favor of them versus the U.S. It's growing all of the time. Donald Trump has earlier referred to Modi as the king of tariffs. And, of course, we know how much Donald Trump hates when tariffs are imposed on the United States, and he's about to disrupt the entire global trading system by putting in a system of reciprocal tariffs. So all of this talk about the great meeting and that India is somehow going to be exempt from an America First policy, you can color me skeptical on this one.
Well, after Trump railed against the U.S. business relationship with India, there's already a lot of uncertainty amongst Indian businesses, according to many reports. Is this a sign of what's to come for Indian businesses and Asian businesses, this ongoing uncertainty? Yeah,
the two words that are dominating from a business and an investor perspective in 2025 are uncertainty and volatility. And businesses hate nothing more than uncertainty and volatility. When I was in law school, and one of my law professors gave his version of the Coase theorem, which is an economic theorem, and that theory is basically the rule doesn't matter so long as everybody knows what the rule is, because when you know what the rule is, then you can bargain around it and you know where the lines are, and just tell me the rule and I'll act on it. There are no rules that are set with Trump right now. And yes, this is going to cause huge volatility. You just saw Shein, the Chinese company, had to pull their IPO from London because they don't know what's going to happen on customs. So it is hurting. And the Singapore government last week said, we are going to see less investment here in Singapore. While there's a lot of certainty in Singapore, there's so much global uncertainty, you don't know what's going to happen. That applies to India. And India should remain, as does everybody else, not knowing what you're going to have with Donald Trump, no matter how much the two leaders bear hug one another.
Yeah, it's interesting. Modi has said that he wants to double trade with Washington by 2030. Part of that could include F-35 jets, military jets, which of course are, would be worth billions of dollars. So we will wait and see what happens with that. But the interesting thing that happened was Modi met with Musk before meeting with Trump. And Trump was asked, well, what was that about? And he's like, well, I guess they got some business together or something. He was very nondescript. How do you see the troika, Modi, Trump, and or three-way, whichever way you want to look at it.
He didn't even appear to know that Trump, when he was asked about the meeting.
He was very circumspect. But how do you read all that, Steve?
I don't know if it's three-way. It could be two ways. And it is Musk and Modi. And, before, not even really jokingly, but I said at the start of this term, oh wow, my God, it's only been 3 weeks. I said I compared Musk to Rasputin in terms of who has the most powerful private citizen in the history of the world. I think he may be beating Rasputin now. So if anyone has another analogy, I can make, please tell me who Musk has got the power with.
But it's highly unusual that a private citizen would meet with this leader meaning Musk, when he's got so many government. He's got a government portfolio now, but then he's got all of these huge private investments
I think
and corporate investments.
I don't think it's unusual. I think it's illegal for what is happening right now.
Is it? I was going to ask you that. Is it illegal?
No, it's not legal because there are rules about what government officials have to do, where conflicts of interest are, where transparency is. None of this.
But he's technically not a government official.
No,
right?
he is. He is a special government employee, and rules apply to special government employees, and none of them are applying to him. Now, what business does Musk have with India? Okay, he's got space, he's got mobility, he's got technology. All of those things are business interests that Elon Musk has in India. SpaceX and Starlink, which Musk owns, they want to launch in India. They don't have their permit yet. Musk is trying to get spectrum assigned to him. His license application is under review, yet he is meeting with Modi. And when they ask Donald Trump, what capacity is Musk meeting Modi with? Trump says, I would imagine he met possibly because, he's running a company. And then asked specifically, is he meeting Modi as a CEO or as an employee of the U.S. government of yours? He's saying, well, Musk is meeting with me in a little while, so I'm going to ask him that question. This is beyond where we have ever been in the United States government when it comes to a private citizen who is also a government employee, and he can take his hat on and off whenever he wants, and we don't know what's happening.
But apart from the usual liberal hand-wringing, you could argue, does anyone even care? I was very struck by a quote from Modi. He said, one thing that I deeply appreciate and I learn from President Trump is that he keeps the national interest supreme. I also keep the national interest of India at the top of everything else. That's what this is. This is two nationalist leaders playing to their base. Would you expect anything else?
Well, let's see what happens, right? This is the equation that Modi came up with was MAGA plus MIGA equal mega. Right? Make America great again plus make India great again equals, make this exceptional, right?
Yeah.
Make exception. It's going to be mega exceptional. It's going to be mega prosperity.
Making exceptionalism great again. There you go.
And here's the thing. You know what? The U.S. has all of the leverage, and India has basically no leverage when it comes to investment and trade and economics. And there is, Glenn, you mentioned that India is going to buy F-35s. They're going to buy small nuclear modules, small nuclear reactors for power. India has a $45 billion trade deficit. There is not $45 billion worth of F-35s to buy or small nuclear reactors. And that is the number one test that America First puts on India. So good luck, India, thinking you're going to be able to buy off Donald Trump. And the other thing is that there is a political problem for Modi back home with Trump because there are hundreds of thousands of illegal immigrants from India in the United States, and they are getting deported. And
they've already repatriated a couple of planefuls of them, I believe.
Repatriated is a nice word. When you shackle someone into a U.S. military plane to deport them, that is outraging Modi's nationalist constituency back home. So let's see what happens when Modi is got all these pictures hugging Trump as Trump and the United States government is deporting potentially hundreds of thousands of Indians. I think there is a lot of risk happening domestically for India that needs to be taken into account.
One broader point on Trump before we move on to Indonesia. I was reading The Guardian last night. There were 10 different stories on the Trump administration covering 10 different issues in one day. USAID, India, Ukraine, EU tariff threats, possible tariffs on the UK, Gaza plan, US government staff cuts, and that's before J.D. Vance's outburst against Europe, right? 10 stories, 10 issues, one day. How much longer can this episodic style of government continue?
Well, that is their plan. It is why people like the three of us are not sleeping anymore, because we have to keep up with this torrent of information for all of the different reasons that the three of us have in our lives. And what is even more frightening, Neil, is that there is a quote I read from Charlie Kirk, who is a very influential MAGA person in the United States, and he said, "We're just getting started. We don't even have our people appointed yet. We don't have our people confirmed yet. Wait till we get the full team in place. If you think we're coming at you fast and furious now, just wait. This is only the beginning of how much we are going to be changing, not just the United States of America, of course, but changing the world."
Thanks, Steve. We'll have that to look forward to.
Happy Saturday, everyone.
Happy Saturday. Well, look, for some people, this is all very good news. Some people are quite happy to see the changes that are happening. I would argue from a business perspective, a business person's perspective, we would like a bit more we would like a lot more stability. And many of these things that have come so fast and furious are without any kind of public comment or consideration. So there's that side of it as well. But
Steve said it, didn't he? Uncertainty and volatility. These are the words you do not want to hear in a business community.
A lot of folks that voted for Trump are quite pleased to see what's happening daily. Although I'm not sure a lot of those folks actually are watching exactly what's happening every day or thinking about what the long-term impact on American business or society and culture will be. But, we'll wait and see what happens with that. Okay, let's move on. Apple is in talks with suppliers about potentially manufacturing iPhones in Indonesia, which would be big for the Indonesian government because they've been trying to get that company to make more substantial investments in exchange for more access to the Indonesian markets. Why is this story important, Steve?
Hey, Indonesia first.
Right?
Indonesia first, and they're doing no different what America first is doing, and they're saying, you want access to our market, you have to make your stuff here. And Apple does not make its stuff in Indonesia. Apple makes its stuff not only in China, but in Vietnam and in Malaysia. And the Indonesian government is saying, iPhone 16, you cannot sell it in Indonesia until you set up domestic manufacturing in Indonesia. And we're going to put a domestic manufacturing content rule in place. And so there is you can't buy one there now. And the Nikkei Asia had a story in which it was leaked that Apple may be taking some steps to potentially make iPhones in Indonesia to have that ban lifted. So, President Prabowo and President, Jokowi before him are executing on the Indonesia First playbook, and it seems to be working. It is not, look, if you're a business, you definitely you want to source and manufacture where it makes the most sense. And to the Indonesians, they don't care. And so let's see what happens. We don't know. We know this is a leak. We don't know that nothing's been signed yet. But this is the direction the world is headed.
I mean, if it is true, potentially good for Indonesia in terms of jobs and investment. What does it mean for the neighbors like Singapore?
Well, okay. In terms of India, good for the workers, but it's going to cost. The iPhone is going to cost more when you have to put in more manufacturing everywhere. Your costs go up. It doesn't make sense to manufacture everything everywhere, and so yes, it is. You can certainly argue that this is going to create some manufacturing jobs, which Indonesia very much wants. Is it going to be good overall? Depends how much the price of the iPhone is going to go up as a result of this. Okay, what does it mean for Singapore? Okay, this one issue doesn't mean anything for Singapore, but it's what you're seeing globally happen, this nationalism and protectionism that is coming to every country is going to raise prices globally. It is going to limit global trade, and that is not good for a country that is based on global trade and finance. And so, yeah, it is this rise of nationalism and populism globally Started, you could say, in the UK with Brexit, certainly picked up in Trump, continuing on everywhere now. You've got J.D. Vance talking to all the nationalists in Europe. You got Indonesia first in Indonesia with this policy. It's not good for a trading and investing nation.
Steve, I'm surprised that Apple hasn't already had some manufacturing there. I mean, it's such a huge potential market.
Yeah.
Do we know why they haven't, up to this point, had any manufacturing? When we talk about, supply chains and diversifying and things like that, is it just because they've had enough capacity in China and Vietnam and they can do higher end products, or why wouldn't they be there already?
You sound like my friends in the Indonesian government.
Well, no, but you know what I mean?
That's what they say. They say, wait a second, Apple, we are the biggest market in Southeast Asia, yet you put your manufacturing elsewhere. Now, obviously, Apple is making a pure business decision here. You can't have you can, of course, have manufacturing in multiple manufacturing locations in multiple countries, but you don't need to. Not with today's supply chains, not with how efficient transportation and logistics are. Yeah. And so, does the Indonesians, do they have the trained workers that you might find in other countries?
Infrastructure has been a huge problem for shipping and things like
exactly,
that, right?
Exactly.
Ports and whatever. Yeah.
Clearly, Apple has made a pure business decision, as have other. I'm not picking on Apple because other companies are doing the same. Right. And maybe it's the reason that Indonesia is doing this with the iPhone 16 is because it gets the three of us to talk about it. If they did it for some product nobody knew, we wouldn't be talking about it.
But quickly, from an ESG point of view, I mean, you're often involved with ESG. Isn't it a good thing that you could potentially have 1 billion plus customers on your doorstep from where the phone is manufactured? From a supply chain point of view, it doesn't hurt, right?
Well, it may arguably be harder to manufacture in Indonesia and deliver to the Indonesian market than to manufacture outside of Indonesia.
Okay.
We certainly looked at that even in India at times. It was way cheaper to manufacture outside of India and then just disperse to Mumbai and Delhi than manufacture in India because there was no. Now, this was a few years ago.
The internal.
It wasn't there. And Indonesia, I'm sure, is not there either.
Infrastructure stuff, yeah.
It may be better from a pure environmental sustainability perspective to serve the Indonesian market from outside Indonesia. That may be true. I mean, I just don't know. But this is not about that. This is about nationalism and where the world is headed.
All right. Let's talk about where the world of Singapore Airlines is headed. If you are a flight crew, we just got some numbers. This is an aviation 2Z.com story that came out. Flight carrier Singapore is rated one of the world's best airlines for its products and leading service, etc. Over 7,000 cabin crew that are servicing the fleet of 147 planes to 76 destinations. So the numbers came out. The flight attendants earn a salary between Singapore $2,000 a month and Singapore $5,000 a month. Okay, that's for the cabin crew. Individuals rostered on long-haul flights to Australia, Europe, etc., can touch $75,000 a year, Singapore dollars, in terms of overall salary. So that salary I mentioned before, $24,000 a year to about $44,000 a year. So pretty good on the upper end. The lower end's a bit low, but I do note that in recent years the bonuses have been amazing for Singapore Airlines staff from what I can remember reading. What's your take on this, Steve?
Well, I can't wait to hear what Joe Lunchpail next to me has to say on it.
That's a nice reference that Singaporeans will get. Joe Lunchpail. Yeah.
If you guys need we'll explain that one later. But or just Google it.
The market is the market. Okay, the market works. Do the flight attendants deserve more money? Yes, of course they do. Do they have to put up with a lot of nonsense and have a lot of pressure on them and a lot of responsibility? Yes. Is it worth? Should they be paid more than $2,000 a month? Of course they should. But the market says they don't. There's a reason they don't. Well, let's say SQ, Singapore Airlines, is one of the best paying airlines for cabin crew in Asia. So this is the top of the market. Imagine what they're paying, Malaysia and Thailand and the like.
China Southern.
So one, for a market perspective. Two, what happens if they get more money? Well, if they make more money, then everybody has to pay more for their airline ticket. And guess what? You will hear screaming from most of the country. How come we're spending so much money on a plane ticket? It's because you're paying the flight attendants what they should be getting. But no, that is not worth it. So the market works. It's not fair per se. I wish they made more money, but this is reality.
Let me just add, in 2024, the Singapore Airlines employees got 8 months bonus.
Wow.
8 months bonus.
I'd be surprised if flight attendants were in that category.
Almost as much as we got here.
Maybe,
I think that was across the board.
I'd be surprised.
I think it was across the board.
I'd be surprised.
Yeah, they had record profits the last couple of years.
But don't forget, they get their transportation paid for to and from the airport. So let's not
Steve,
skip that either.
I'm actually enjoying myself. I thought we were going to agree, and we're not. So this is brilliant, right? So Victorian chimney sweeps got a penny a day and a bowl of dripping because the market was the market, and they didn't want to spoil the market for those Victorian industrialists living in their country mansions being served whatever they were being served, because the market was the market. Surely we can do better than that in the year 2025. You don't, and you're very binary. Okay, they either get better salaries or we raise fair prices. How about cut profits?
Well, first of all, let's say government has a role to ensure that workers are safe, that workers are treated respectfully, that workers. So yeah, no, it's not. The market is the market in this context. I am not going back to Mary Poppins. All right.
Mary Poppins was a fictional character. I'm using real characters.
Folks, we have got to go. We got stuff to do, and we got to not hit the top of the hour. So, Steve, thank you very much. We will see you next week.
Happy 50th SNL.
There we go.
To listen to more great interviews, download our podcasts at audio.sg or download the audio app. That's AWEDIO, audio at the App Store and Google Play.